Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. I hope you're all doing well during this time. I know school has just started for me. It may have started for you. I hope it's doing well for you as it is for me. If I do sound a little bit strange during this video, it's because I am a little bit under the weather. Don't worry, I'll be fine. But I was a little bit bored one day, and after convincing a very good friend of mine by the name of WarDog3 to give a walkthrough of the English patch for the Japanese version of Ace Combat 3, I thought I might as well just spitball some ideas for a potential remake of the game. Because man, oh man, do so many fans want it, and for damn good reason. Ace Combat 3 has, at least in my opinion, the best story within the entire series. The only thing that really holds that game back is the fact that it came out so many years ago on PlayStation 1, and even then, that's not really that much of a bar to hold it back from. Its gameplay is still pretty decent for its time. Then again, it's Ace Combat, so of course it holds up. And its story is pretty fucking timeless, especially ahead of its time, given the age it came out. I think it came out back in 1999. Yeah, if you know of Ace Combat 3's story, you know how incredibly good it is. Two mega corporations duking it out between each other, along with the hypocritical Peace Enforcement Organization. It's just epic from start to finish. It has my favorite cast of characters, it has the coolest setting, reminds me of Armored Core to be honest, and it's just such a cool story in general, especially if you're a fan of anime. You know, this is meant to just meant for me to show off, so I might as well just make things easier for me to do commentary. So, the game isn't perfect, obviously. It came out back on PlayStation 1. But even then, it still holds up, and there are so many people that want an Ace Combat 3 remake that I thought I might as well just spitball some ideas for what a remake would be like. This isn't going to be a particularly long video, but I'll do my best to make my points as concise as I can. Seems like that's a good setup. Let's do this. So I'll cover some ideas that I think everybody here can agree on. The plane selection. This is not to say that the plane selection in Ace Combat 3 is bad. No. I don't even think there needs to be any more planes to be added. I think the amount of planes that you actually have within Ace Combat 3 is perfect. I don't even think there's any more planes that need to be added. However, I do think that certain plane selections during the two Ouroboros paths, for example, could be a little bit better. This isn't to say that you should be flying general resource planes when you're playing as Newcom or vice versa. But many people, especially me, probably had that one issue where they were going through the Ouroboros path, whether it be through Newcom or through General Resource, and they're forced to fly either the Delphinus or the XFA-36. And only the XFA-36 has the black Ouroboros markings. Now, Ouroboros is a terrorist group that takes pilots in from all three groups, UPIO, General Resource, and Newcom. Why not give the player the opportunity to fly the Sukhoi 43 Burkett, or the R-103, or the XFA-36, have them choose between the three of those, and make sure they all have their respective Ouroboros markings. The Ouroboros markings for all three of the planes are within the game. There are plenty of videos showcasing the different skins, one of which I can link in the description if so desired. I love the Falcon. Anyway, like I was saying. But yes, the Sukhoi 43 Burkett, the R-103, the XFA-36, they all have Ouroboros markings, but the XFA-36 is the only one with Ouroboros markings that the player can fly. They can fly the R-103 in the Ouroboros path for Newcom, but it doesn't have the Ouroboros markings. So, they have access to all three of the main endgame planes, but you can only fly two of them depending on which path, and only one of them has Ouroboros markings. Why not just let the player fly whatever they wish if the group has it? Like I said, if the group has it. I think that in the Newcom path and General Resource path, the planes that they give you are fair. Of course, they still force you to fly certain planes, like once you reach a certain point in the game with the XFA-36, you have to fly it. You can't go back to the F-22C. Which, you know, is only really a minor issue. I'm pretty sure most people are going to fly the newest and best plane, but just give the player the option if they want to fly the F-22C or some shit like that. And if they ever do the Ouroboros path, just let them fly whatever plane they fly, and give it those so beautiful black Ouroboros markings. I can't stress this enough. I'm probably biased, because that is one of my favorite skins in the series. Now this is my... So that's my first thing. This is going to be my second idea here. I think that some of the missions in Ace Combat 3 could be cut out. Now, I know some people are going to take a huge issue with this, but I think that some of Ace Combat 3's missions can be considered to be a little bit pointless. One especially is in the Upio path, where literally all you have to do is just destroy two, three, maybe four high-flying Nucom bombers, and that's literally it. The mission ends. You can literally kill the mission within 2 minutes, and it's a mission that takes place near the end of the game. That's pointless. There's really no need for that. In my opinion, you should not be sacrificing gameplay for the sake of the story unless you're doing a miniature sacrifice for a mission and adding to the story significantly. But I'm not going to spoil it for people who haven't played Ace Combat 3, but it's really not that big of a plot, really not that big plot-wise for such a bland mission. But that's just one of the examples. There are other missions as well that are simply way too short. They don't last very long. They're not very satisfying, and they're there for the sake of plot convenience. Another example is the train mission, which I will also not spoil. But outside of that there aren't that many bad missions within Ace Combat 3 that can't be improved with modern day gameplay or modern day graphics. Well, maybe not so much graphics. Modern day gameplay most definitely help. And speaking of gameplay, the flight model for an Ace Combat 3 remake, that's a bit... I thought for sure that my allies and my 2 missiles would have killed that A-10, but then I remembered that, as demonstrated, allies can't do shit in this game. That's actually another thing that I can touch upon when it comes to Ace Combat 3 as well. Your allies in Ace Combat 3 were actually pretty decent. They were able to target enemies. They were actually able to damage them, unlike people in 7. And they were able to get the job done, but you couldn't command them. Just allow like a small system that allows the player to be able to command their allies. It's just a simple addition, nothing too major. Now, like I was talking about regarding the flight model, in my opinion, Ace Combat 0 has the best flight model in the series. That's a bit more subjective, but in my opinion, just revamp the flight model a little bit. Now, some people actually do like the flight model in Ace Combat 3, and I've seen some pretty good reason. The Ace Combat 3 planes are a little bit more slower, and they expend a lot more energy in order to turn, and they has a lot more interest in. I think the term was energy fighting, where you're trying to conserve the energy, trying to make maneuvers in your plane as to not stall. I'm not sure if that's the right term for it. However, I've seen the Ace Combat 3 people talk about Ace Combat 3 having more energy management, and I can definitely agree with that. Regardless, try to keep the flight model as much as you can. Don't make the planes overly slow and boring to fly, which some of the early planes in the game are, especially the R-102 Astarosa. Ugh. But really, there's not much else that needs to be added. Obviously, you want the graphics to be revamped a little bit, and we want a little bit more freedom in what kind of planes I'm allowed to choose, especially depending on the path. There's no reason you can't choose more than one plane in either the Ouroboros paths. Let's face it. Now, this here goes into major spoiler territory. If you are not aware of the big twist at the end of Ace Combat 3, click off right now and watch a playthrough of that game. You will absolutely not regret it. It is absolutely worth watching fully through all 5 paths. But now, this can be a little bit more of a controversial decision. There have been plenty of cases today where remakes are actually sequels or actually make huge differences to the story compared to originally. This is especially the case with the Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm not going to say what that game did, but a miniature change that I would do for Ace Combat 3. Instead of the whole game taking place within a simulation like the original Ace Combat 3, have the game take place in the real world. and that's it. You don't have to change the story. You don't have to change the story, or even that. You don't have to change the story at all, really, or change the story that significantly. The Ace Combat 3 took place in the simulation. Ace Combat 3 Remake takes place in the real world. That's the only difference. Maybe make one of that hint at one of the endings being canon over the other, just so people have a clear idea of of which path happened and what exactly occurred afterwards. Again, that's a maybe. You can maybe hint at one of the endings being canon so that people can have a solid ground for which ending is canon. Or you can just leave it ambiguous with all 5 of the endings and have people theorize on their own, which I'm okay with. I already have my theory on which canon ending it is. But that's really all I wanted to say. Again, just to recap. Allow a little bit more freedom in aircraft choice. Adjust some of the missions or cut out some filler missions entirely. Have Ace Combat 3 Remake take place in the real world. Revamp the flight model and the graphics, obviously. And that's about it. That's really all you need. I'm serious. Ace Combat 3 ages so well that just some minor upgrades are more than enough to make the game a masterpiece, as if it isn't already. Do I expect there to be an Ace Combat 3 remake, though? Probably not. Unfortunately, and I don't want to bash Kono here because he is the one that saved the series, albeit he's the one that nearly doomed it to begin with. But it's made abundantly clear that he really doesn't care that much about Ace Combat 3, or that he even doesn't really know all that much regarding Ace Combat 3, because he wasn't working on the Ace Combat series until 4. I thought for sure I got that F-117. Sorry, was too busy talking. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed the video. And if any of you do watch Ace Combat 3 or like it, feel free to just post some thoughts of what you think you can add into the video. Not the video, into some ideas for the remake. I love talking with people. I love discussing things. So, if you have any ideas, feel free to discuss them with me. I'd love to talk to you about it. Amen. God bless. Take care of yourself. Good night.